Hi, this is Remembering the Past, the show where we talk about people who've died recently who've had a profound effect on our history, our society, or our culture. And in our ongoing series on Medal of Honor winners, occasionally we miss one, but we always come back and try and make it up. In 2017, Master Sergeant Wilburn Ross died, and he was awarded the Medal of Honor in April of 1945 for his actions on October 30th, 1944. His heroic action took place in Saint-Jacques, France, which is in southern France. In the spring of 1944, everyone knows about the Normandy invasion, the Allies invading northern France, but far less attention is paid to the southern invasion of France on the southern coast, known as Operation Dragoon, which was not heavily defended by the Germans, and Saint-Jacques, which was part of that invasion, is where Private Ross, as part of the 30th Infantry Regiment, 3rd Army Division, earned his honor. No fewer than 4 other soldiers in the 3rd Infantry Division were awarded the Congressional Medal of Honor with him in 1945 in a special ceremony. To date, the 3rd Infantry Division boasts more Medal of Honor recipients than any other division in the Army, a total of 51, and 37 of those were earned during World War II. Private Ross in the 3rd Division fought in North Africa, Sicily, Italy, France, Germany, and Austria. They were the only division to fight Germany on all fronts of the war. They lost more soldiers than any other American division during World War II. Perhaps the most famous Medal of Honor winner ever, Audie Murphy, whose story was depicted in the Hollywood movie To Hell and Back, was a soldier in the 3rd Infantry Division. Another famous Medal of Honor winner, not from the 3rd Division, grew up about 30 miles south of Wilburn Ross. That was Alvin York. Private Ross had heard of Alvin York's exploits during World War I, and in fact, Alvin York accompanied Private Ross to his Medal of Honor ceremony. He told him he could eat his fried chicken with his hands. The 3rd Division landed in Casablanca, Morocco, and advanced through North Africa to Sicily and Italy, and then took Rome. Ross remembered he was told they would be in Rome until the end of the war, but 2 weeks later they got the word that the Pope had declared that there should be no combat troops in Rome, and that's when the division went back to Naples to train for their amphibious invasion in southern France in August of 1944. Shortly thereafter, near Saint-Jacques, Ross earned his Medal of Honor. The 3rd Division made their way into Germany and captured Hitler's mountain retreat before ending up in Salzburg, Austria in May 1945, as the war in Europe ended. From the website congressionalmedal.org, Master Sergeant Ross's Medal of Honor citation reads, Wilburn K. Ross, rank private, Company G, date of issue 4/23/45, place date near Saint-Jacques, France, 30 October 1944, Organization U.S. Army, Division 30th Infantry. For conspicuous gallantry and intrepidity at risk of life and above and beyond the call of duty near Saint-Jacques, France. At 11:30 a.m. on 30 October 1944, after his company had lost 55 out of 88 men in an attack on an entrenched, full-strength German company of elite mountain troops, Private Ross placed his light machine gun 10 yards in advance of the foremost supporting riflemen in order to absorb the initial impact of an enemy counterattack. With machine gun and small arms fire striking the earth near him, he fired with deadly effect on the assaulting force and repelled it. Despite the hail of automatic fire and the explosion of rifle grenades within a stone's throw of his position, he continued to man his machine gun alone, holding off 6 more German attacks. When the 8th assault was launched, most of his supporting riflemen were out of ammunition. They took positions in echelon behind Private Ross and crawled up during the attack to extract a few rounds of ammunition from his machine gun ammunition belt. Private Ross fought on virtually without assistance and, despite the fact that enemy grenadiers crawled to within 4 yards of his position in an effort to kill him with hand grenades, he again directed accurate and deadly fire on the hostile force and hurled it back. After expending his last rounds, Private Ross was advised to withdraw to the company command post, together with 8 surviving riflemen, but as more ammunition was expected, he declined to do so. The Germans launched their last all-out attack, converging their fire on Private Ross in a desperate attempt to destroy the machine gun which stood between them and a decisive breakthrough. As his supporting riflemen fixed bayonets for a last-ditch stand, fresh ammunition arrived and was brought to Private Ross just as the advance assault elements were about to swarm over his position. He opened murderous fire on the oncoming enemy, killed 40 and wounded 10 of the attacking force. broke the assault single-handedly and forced the Germans to withdraw. Having killed or wounded at least 58 Germans in more than 5 hours of continuous combat and saved the remains of his company from destruction, Private Ross remained at his post that night and the following day for a total of 36 hours. His actions throughout this engagement were an inspiration to his comrades and maintained the highest traditions of military service. Here for the National World War II Museum, Sergeant Ross discusses how he held off multiple German assaults and saved his comrades, for which he was awarded the Medal of Honor.
Tell me, if you would, in as much detail as you can remember, tell me about the action that led to you receiving the medal, and where did that happen, and tell me about it.
Well, that happened in Saint-Jacques, France, very close to the town. I never did see the town. We took the hill, and then they had a brand new group of Germans, a company, coming back and trying to take it back. And we barely had dug a damn ditch to get a hole to get the machine gun in. I had a guy there with me for about an hour. I told him, I said, he was digging, and I was shooting. I told him, I said, you watch while you shoot. I'll dig more and get down further. He said, I see him. Yes, I said, yeah, shoot. I've been doing it for a dang hour. And he didn't do it quick enough. So they shot, and they hit him right here. It went in his helmet and come out over here, but it didn't, just grazed his scalp. And I told him, I said, I just reached up and stopped him with a machine gun. Then I told him, I said, now, when I get them settled down, I said, don't take that steel pot off your head because they shoot these grenades in this tree. I said, they'll come down and hit you top of the head. I said, I'll get them stopped. I'm going to push you behind that tree and let you make it. So that's what happened. So then I stayed there for the rest of that day and all night the next, and part of the next day. Well, that's the one that was with me. He was a young guy. I mean, he hadn't been in, but he thought they were, well, they were dressed something similar to our dress, you know. I'd been shooting for a damned hour, and man, I told him, I said, shoot, don't mess around. And that's when they got hit.
What about, under the citation said, I think it was around the 8th assault, some of the riflemen with you were out of ammunition?
Yeah, I got the one machine gun there to get the ammunition from that.
I understand they crawled up behind you and were getting ammunition from the machine gun belt or something? Can you tell me about that?
They could pull out a few rounds, but not very many.
How close did the enemy get to you?
They got within, I'd say, 20 yards, something like that. They could get pretty dang close because this is in woods, timber.
What made you stay there, even after you, I guess, were told to withdraw, and you stayed behind? What made you stay? Why did you stay behind?
Why did I stay there? Because I had them stopped, and I was going to stay there because I still kind of, if they wanted to do something else while I was there. But then when I stayed there for 36 hours, and I pulled out, they went back and got like they wanted to, and go back and join the other guys.
Were you told when you stayed behind that there'd be more ammunition and things coming up?
No, I wasn't told that.
What about, I know in your citation too, it mentions riflemen fixing bayonets.
Yeah, they could fix bayonets, but shoot, I stopped them. They didn't have to have them bayonets on.
How long would you say you were there overall with all the, I mean, as far as the combat, how long were all those attacks? Was it 8 or 9 charges by the Germans?
Yeah, shoot, yeah, that one right after another. But they had a little break every time I stopped them. Then there'd be a break, and then they'd do their shooting, and then they'd shoot these grenades and smoke things out in front of me. And then they'd charge. I knew what they're doing. So when they charged, I just go that way and that way. And shoot, they couldn't get through it. Anyway, it all worked out pretty good. Oh, shoot, that saved the elevation back there. They killed about 58 of our guys, too. Surrounded 50. So I whittled them down to there because they had to stop. So anyway, there wasn't very many of them left when the F Company attacked through us a day or two later. And I directed the mortar shell far in on top of what few was left.
How many Germans would you say you killed right there?
Well, they give me credit for about 58 of them.
Wilburn Ross became a local hero in 2 states, Kentucky and Washington, with both states naming roads or part of a highway after him. He spent most of his later life in Pierce County, Washington, near Tacoma, and here's Pierce County Television on a memorial service and celebration they did for him shortly after his death.
The city of DuPont honored those that gave the ultimate sacrifice in defense of our country during their annual Memorial Day program. They also paid respects to a departed friend on a street named in his honor. Jeremy Acree has the story.
Master Sergeant Ross!
One final roll call.
Master Sergeant Wilburn Ross!
For a neighbor, friend, and true American hero.
Master Sergeant Wilburn K. Ross!
As a volley of shots fired and taps played, the military gave a final salute to a man that gave so much to his country.
Master Sergeant Ross epitomized the values of the greatest generation. He was humble and kind, completely committed to the U.S. Army and his fellow soldiers.
He earned the Medal of Honor, risking his life defending those fellow soldiers on a battlefield in France during World War II. Manning a lone machine gun, he held off waves of attacking German forces for over 5 hours of continuous combat and remained at his post for 36 hours. Despite his heroism,
you know, if you didn't know what a hero he was, he wouldn't tell you. He was a quiet, humble man who just was part of our community, really just a treasure and a privilege to have as one of our neighbors.
And the Rosses called DuPont home for well over half a century. His oldest son, Gregory, recalls hearing his father's heroics.
I don't know that you know it or notice it when you're a kid. You know, it's just Dad. So he didn't speak about it much, so when we did get to, when he would say a little something, it was pretty amazing. Just things that he did, people that he met.
But it's us that remain that make all of that worthwhile for those people. That's why they did what they did, so we could be here today and live our lives and have the liberties and the freedoms that we have, and the ability to pursue our dreams, and sometimes pause and remember the price that they paid for us.
The ceremony is a solemn reminder of that price.
So it's significant to be here today for him.
As we remember Master Sergeant Ross, we also honor all of those that have died defending our country.
And pledge to never fully say goodbye to that great man or the rest, because we will hold them in our hearts forever.
Well, I'm going to close on that note. I want to thank my producer and IT genius, Sid Tepps. As I said, Master Sergeant Ross was a hero in Washington, where he settled, but he was also a local hero in his birthplace state of Kentucky. He was born in Strunk, Kentucky, and as I said, that was about 30 miles north of where Alvin York grew up in Pall Mall, Tennessee. And Master Sergeant Ross has actually had a stretch of highway in that area named after him. After the war, when Master Sergeant Ross returned to Strunk, Kentucky, he was greeted by a crowd of 3,000 citizens, the governor, Simeon Willis, and the neighbor who could best appreciate his bravery and dedication, Alvin York. And I know one of Sid's favorite movies is Sergeant York with Gary Cooper as the hero. I need you, Alvin. Well, when Wilburn Ross returned to Kentucky in late 1945, around that time, Bill Monroe, the legendary bluegrass musician, was writing and then performing an iconic song that Master Sergeant Ross must have heard many, many times. And we're going to play it as our final tribute. Master Sergeant Ross, our gratitude is unlimited. We cannot begin to repay the debt that we owe you.
Blue moon of Kentucky, keep on shining. Shine on the one that's gone and proven true. Blue moon of Kentucky, keep on shining. Shine on the one that's gone and left me blue.